Drummers, what's going on? This is Brandon from Drum Mechanics, and here's a quick tidbit for you to try and help out. If you're a drummer who has struggled with a tight neck and had problems while you are playing, this is for you. I want to introduce one idea. First and foremost, if you have a tight neck and you are really concerned about medical issues, you're wondering if you have a herniated disc damage, this is not for you. This is not to supplement medical advice, and I encourage you to go get appropriate medical attention. But in most cases, when I talk to drummers and they say they've got a tight neck, there are a couple common threads that seem to be consistent amongst these drummers. First and foremost, I want to share an idea with you, and it's called moment arm. If you're familiar with Newtonian physics, there's this thing called force, and you've probably heard of this before. In force, there's the reaction force idea. So if this phone weighs 10 pounds, the table is pushing back into it with an equal amount of 10 pounds. And then there's the law of inertia, where if I have this phone and I were to drop it down on the table, if it weighs 10 pounds, it's going to pick up acceleration based off of gravity, or this particular acceleration, which is gravity. And when it hits the table, there'll be a greater impact and a greater reaction force. The 10 pounds picks up its acceleration with that 12 inches, and that also means that when it hits that with that acceleration, maybe it weighs 20 pounds, that means 20 pounds of force pushes into it quickly, right? Car accidents, the speed is not the problem, it's the stopping that's the problem when there's a car accident. So if we have this idea of moment arm, what moment arm is when we take force, mass times acceleration, and we put it into a rotary environment. So what I have here is I have this nice leather strap, which truthfully is actually a horse strap that was used for inappropriate things. Anyway, the reason why I have this is because it helps show kind of linear representation. So if I have this and this represents the line of force and I hold my arm up like so, you can see in this example, this line of force is going right down through my shoulder axis, which is a very interesting idea, which means that my arm actually feels a little bit lighter in this position in comparison to out here. So if I had to hold my arm out here, you can see that line of force is trying to go down towards the ground. And this also means that the distance from my shoulder joint is that far away. So moment arm is the perpendicular relationship between a line of force and joint axis. Now that's all fancy, but what does this really mean? It means basically that the further away my arm is away from my joint axis, in this case my shoulder complex, the heavier I'm going to feel it to be. If my arm was going to get tired doing anything, it's going to be holding a weight out here, or my arm out here, than having it down at the side. So tip number one to try and help resolve a tight neck as a drummer is to make sure that ergonomically, everything is close to your body as you can. I try to position all of my instruments so my shoulders and elbows can stay in one position, even if my arms are crossed. I play 15-inch hi-hats and 16.5-inch sticks because I like to have that extra distance so that way I can stay tall and erect and stay straight. This helps to reduce any sort of moment arm increase because of my mass being further away from my joint axis. The reason why that's significant is if I'm playing a crash cymbal with my arm way out here for a long period of time, there's all this distance from the joint axis, which means that my muscles are going to have to work harder, which is not a problem because truthfully drumsticks don't weigh a lot. But if you're playing a longer duration crash set where your arm is out far, you get your ride really, really high, that means that your arm is going to have to hold that position for the duration of that song or flow or whatever it is that you're doing. And if you've never practiced that before, that's going to increase the muscular tension and potentially has the opportunity to increase fatigue in the muscles that have to hold your arm up. And so why not, instead of having this risk where you want to have this risk of your arm being that far away, have everything positioned close enough so the actual fatigue on your muscular system is as low as possible. Now, if you're a showman and you're playing really, really big gigs, no matter who you are, and you want to have these cymbals far away so you can do all that crazy stuff, that's absolutely acceptable too. But you have to prepare for the gig. And a really simple way that you can do that is take some small weights, like 2 or 5 pounds, and hold your arms out in the positions that you'd be playing for the length of the songs that your arms are going to be out in front of you. Pretty simple idea. So number one, most reason why people get tight necks is because there's too much fatigue, and you have fatigue on Monday, you play a gig on Tuesday, that fatigue accumulates and never has a chance to recover. The other side of that is that ergonomically, things are not put in a good position. So here's a few solutions for you. One, adjust things ergonomically so your elbows underneath your shoulders at all time. I believe Vinny Colaiuta calls this playing the cards. Second, get stronger. And there's a ton of really incredible exercise you can do, like doing simple shoulder shrugs is a type of exercise that you can do. Lots of different machines for that. You can do cables, mass-based resistance, whatever it is that you like. But building up your upper shoulder muscles is a simple way to ensure that you have the endurance of the tasks that you're doing. Other exercises like deadlifts are extremely popular too. Ultimately, build up your strength. But I will say this as my closing caveat. If you have done all of this, you've adjusted things ergonomically as best you can, you've increased your muscular strength as much as you can, you're still having chronic problems, seek professional attention to make sure that you feel as good as possible. Anyway, this is Brandon from Drum Mechanics. I love drummers like you, playing strong as possible. Make sure things are in a good spot. Make sure that you feel good. Let's skip out on some of those reaction forces, and if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll make a video personal to you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching.